Good day, everyone. This is Trixie May Ponce, and I am one of the reporters to tackle the lesson about the effects of terrorism on tourism industry and its effects on a country. But before we move on, here is a sample case study of terrorism. Here are some key points to remember for our case study. First, we have situation assessment takes time. Second, the community will be scared. The incident may involve widespread contamination, and long-term medical or psychological care will be needed. Sarin liquid was placed on 5 separate commuter subway trains at the height of Tokyo's morning rush hour. Within minutes, people were stricken and Tokyo authorities began a major mass casualty incident response. Over 5,000 people flooded nearby hospitals over the next few hours, requiring evaluation and sometimes treatment. The incident was not identified as a nerve agent incident for approximately 3 hours after the attack. The contamination was not performed on all the victims and riders. Over 50% of the victims reported some lingering effects from the attack 5 years later. Sarin is considered a deadly nerve agent. It is a highly poisonous chemical created as a pesticide and not to kill humans. Sarin comes in two forms, liquid and in vapor. Sarin in its liquid form is colorless and odorless. However, sarin liquid can evaporate, which then turns into vapor, which may then be inhaled by people. So in this specific dilemma, sarin liquid evaporated, contaminating the air, which then people inhaled. This is an anti-personal attack, which means ang target sa mga terrorist ani kay ang people ra. Authorities reported nga ang nagbuhat ra sad ani kay isa ka religious cult from Japan also. So, di ba, mostly sa terrorist attacks, infrastructure and buildings or properties ang kasagaran jud maigo kay explosives ang gamit. While this is called a chemical attack which does not involve any explosives, pero a very harmful chemical was used. So, kay chemical may gamit, of course, unbeknownst sa authorities what really caused the mass incident. Remember sa key points, situation assess takes time. Since wala may explosives, walay damage nakita nga probably ikarisa nila sa nahitabo, it took 3 hours after the attack before na-find nga nerve agent incident siya. So the contamination was not performed on all the victims. Now you may think nga nung nakasurvive ang uban victims knowing nga sarin is a highly poisonous chemical. Sarin is fatal within minutes or even hours. Well, for the survivors of this case, low exposure sila. Sarin symptoms depend only on its exposure levels. So sa case study, gistate nga over 50% of the victims reported some lingering effects 5 years after the attack. So kani siya is what we call a long-term effect of sarin. Although low ang exposure levels niya ani sa victims nga ni-report, naa gihapoy effects. Mostly loss of memory, maglisod nagpay attention, or as what we call cognitive impairment. That's all for the case study of sarin gas attack in Tokyo. Now, we will proceed to the effects of terrorism in tourism industry and in a country.
So, my topic is the effects of tourism and tourism industry. So, there are three main effects of tourism and tourism industry. First is a shock to tourist utility and a change in the image profile of destinations. And next, it can lead to unemployment, homelessness, deflation, and many other social and economic ills. Next is the tourism, crime, and corruption are expected to act as negative attractors of a particular destination. Crimes and acts of tourism committed against the travel and tourism industry affects tourism by damaging the destination or city image and instilling fear in a potential tourist. So because of that happening, some of the tourists are canceling or no longer planning to visit that particular area or destination that ruined by the terrorism. So because of that effects, it's a very big bad impact to the local people or to the employees to lose their respected job. And because of that, it can lead to not improving tax revenue and personal income, and it can also lead to decreased standards of living and no more employment opportunities to the people.
Now let's talk about the effects of terrorism in a country. So mapa-chemical attack man or bomb attack, when we hear the words terrorist attack, one thing that always comes to mind is harm. In general, the effects of terrorism in a country, number one is economy jud ang affected. Due to loss of property and funds, delayed jud na ang repairs to infrastructures and other buildings or facilities. So to speak, financial markets will recover slowly from the shock, which would mean long-term suffering ang economies sa isa ka country after a terrorist attack. Terrorism also affects the economy indirectly by creating market uncertainty. Uncertainty meaning walay kasiguraduhan. Investors will find it difficult to assess the current and future market conditions because there is a lot of volatility within the market. So unsa man sad ning volatility? Volatility is the unpredictable price movements. If ang isa ka country under state of calamity, di man dyan na malikayan nga naa dyan uban seller nga mag-take advantage sa situation. In short, overpricing. Ang kaning volatility magdepende ra sa jud ni siya sa situation sa isa ka country. Sometimes people would think about volatility when prices fall, and sometimes pod ka ng price hike or a sudden rise of prices. With this, maglisod jud og assess ang investors if unsa ang kahimtang sa market. Next is xenophobia. This refers to the fear of strangers or foreigners. Of course, kinsa may di mophobia or matrauma anang terrorism. As we may all know, some terrorists dress as civilians para magpaniid sa lugar. When an individual is a victim of this man-made disaster, makaingon jud ang traumatized and some would even stop traveling na. Mahadlok na sila moatubang og laing tao, especially to those people who aren't from their country kay who knows kinsa na sila. Next is loss of tourism. Obvious naman siguro why no. When traveling, it is not just about the journey but also the safety of the tourists. What happens when nangaguba ang mga tourist spots sa isa ka country? Wala na yung mga to. Kinsa man sa mo atoan ang under construction pa, di ba? Next, if walay maatuan, maunsa naman lang ng mga tour guide. Kinsa man sa i-guide nila if walay tourist ni travel sa ilang place due to the attack? Wala. So, what happens to tour guides? Walay kita, worse, mawagtangan og trabaho or unemployment. Lastly, kinsa man sad mga traveler ang sobraan kaisog anang moadto nga under attack pa ang isa ka country or ang destination nga iyang napilian. Tourists wants to travel safe places. So if ang ilang chosen destination is under a stressful situation pa, they will avoid that destination. So that closes up our report about terrorism. Thank you for listening.